Does light know what I'm going to know in the future? Light seems to be able to predict how we will choose to observe it. Light somehow is able to dance with the future. Welcome to this episode of Faith in Physics. In prior episodes, we've explored what is faith? What is it we're even talking about? And we talked about the size of the universe. And last time we talked about the dual nature of light, two opposite things that are true at the same time. We also talked about the elasticity of time. Today we're going to explore light's, I don't know how to say it other than light's awareness of what I know and light's awareness of what I will know in the future. I think you're going to be a little shocked by these things if you haven't heard of them before. And if all of this is pretty new to you and you haven't heard or listened or watched any of our prior episodes, you might want to check them out. So here's a quick refresher of what we talked about last time. Light itself has a dual nature, that it's two opposites at the same time. It's a wave and it's a particle. And it turns out that in what we call the dual slit experiment, which is tricky if you're just listening to this, let me try to set this up in your mind. Imagine there being a wall with two slits through it, and behind that wall is a dark room with a back wall. And we're going to send light through those two slits and see what happens, what shows up on that back wall. When we just do that, normally what you end up is seeing is a interference pattern that proves that light is a wave. Now, if we can send one particle of light, which we would call a photon, through that apparatus one at a time, and if we watch to see which slit that one little particle of light went through, then it acts like it is a particle, like a BB or an M&M or something that can't split in half. And it leaves evidence on that back wall in that dark room that it was a particle. And so it goes through slit A or slit B, and at the back you end up with two very clear, bright lines behind those slits. If we don't watch to see which slit it went through, then it goes through both, as if it's like a wave that can go through both slits at the same time, and then creates two waves coming out from those slits. And on the back wall, those two waves interfere with each other, and it leaves evidence of that. Instead of having two clear lines, bright lines, you have several lines of light and dark and light and dark and light, which proves that it was a wave when it went through. So if we observe the individual photons of light in the two slit experiment, each behaves like a particle, and it leaves no evidence of interference on the back wall. If we don't watch it, it behaves like a wave and leaves evidence of interference on the back wall. So I don't know about you. If you've not heard this before, it's a little disturbing to me. One, that light can have this dual reality to it, two opposites that are true at the same time. But maybe even more disturbing is that somehow it knows if I'm watching it. It knows if I'm observing whether it goes through slit A or slit B. And if I do know that, then it acts like a particle. If I don't know that, it acts like a wave. Very, very strange. So let's talk about one other thing. Light's something that's pretty mysterious. Most of us couldn't explain what is light unless we're physicists or something like that. And so it's kind of a mysterious thing. You can't hold it. But what about something that is a particle, like a BB or an M&M, and has weight to it? And so we're going to talk about electrons in this same experiment. Now, electrons, it turns out, if any of you have done any chemistry, and if not, that's fine, but electrons really determine all chemistry. And chemistry determines what all things are like, what makes wood like wood, and what makes steel like steel, and plastic like plastic, and even gas like gas, oxygen like oxygen. It's all determined by electrons and how they interact with each other. So let's see what happens when you shoot these electrons through the dual slit experiment in the same way. If you shoot one electron through the apparatus at a time, and if we watch or measure somehow which slit it went through, It acts just like we would have expected. This, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, that scientists were doing these experiments. When we don't pay attention, one electron at a time going through, somehow it acts like a wave, goes through both, and interferes with itself and leaves evidence of that on the back wall. So electrons do the same thing that light photons do. And yet electrons are matter. They are material. They have mass. They have weight to them. Very little, but still, this was, again, very unexpected. It turns out that really our physical world is largely determined by electrons and photons and the interaction they have between the two. And I'm not going to be diving into that. But the two things that really make up our reality have this very strange duality to them, and also some kind of awareness. It's not the right word, but I don't know what word to use, that they respond differently whether we're observing them or not. Very, very strange. And Einstein, when everybody was learning this stuff, including Einstein, he was really bothered by this. And so he has a famous quote that says, "I think that a particle must have a separate reality independent of the measurements." So he's saying it's got to be there whether we're looking at it or not. Now, let me go back to his quote. That is, that an electron has spin, location, and so forth, even when it's not being measured. I like to think that the moon is there, even if I'm not looking at it. He was very disturbed by this. And to this day, we still can't quite get our heads around what's really going on. But it kind of looks like there is this potential for a reality. And when we observe something, it collapses into reality. Very strange. Okay, so it gets even weirder now. So buckle your seatbelt. Scientists thought this cannot be true. This can't be what is reality. So let's trick the photon and or the electron into revealing which slit it went through, but after it's already gone through the slits. So before it hits the back wall in the dark room, we can figure out which slit it go through, but it's already gone through it. And so they figured out some really cool ways to do this. But here's what they learned. When we can know which slit it went through, even after the fact, if we can know if it went through slit A or slit B, then it behaves like a particle. But when we can't know, because maybe the information was in there just before it hit the back wall, but we decided not to observe that information, or we erased the information, then it acts like a wave. So somehow at the two slits at the front wall, somehow it knows if we will know in the future if it went through a slit or not. And if we can't know, then it acts like a wave. If we can know, somehow it knows that we will know that, and it acts like a particle. Now, this isn't new age kinds of information and things. This is physics of the last roughly 100 years, 140 years even. And scientists, not flakes and nuts and fruits. These are people that measure things and are, really looking for what is provable and real. And it's people like that, Einstein and the like, that have said, this is what we've learned. So when I was studying this and learning this, it was before I was a believer, but I had read the Bible, and there was a bunch of things from the Bible that started to stir up in me. Now, over the years, I've captured some of them. Let me share some with you. Here's one from Ecclesiastes 3:15. This was written 3,000 years ago. Whatever is has already been, and what will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. There's just some kind of time challenge in there that feels like the dual slit experiment. Here's another from 3,000 years ago, Ecclesiastes 6:10. Whatever exists has already been named. So even before it exists, God knew it. And it's almost like light. And we've made that comparison before between God and light. That somehow the future is known. And here's something from Isaiah, which was about 2,700 years ago. See, the former things have taken place, and new things I declare. Before they spring into being, I announce them to you. This is Isaiah saying that God knows the future, it can tell you the future. And then here's my favorite verse. This comes from the Apostle Paul about 2,000 years ago. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. The verbiage here is it's not he was before all things. It's like, no, he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. That's Colossians 1:17. And I personally believe, after studying all this stuff and studying the Bible, that God is in control of every atom, every electron, every photon of light, and that's what brings order to the universe. That's so different than what we find at the quantum level. And then from John 8:12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And this constant comparison between light and God, and then in physics, light. And so here are the 5 things over the last 2 episodes we've talked about light. Light appears to travel the same speed regardless of the speed of the observer. Only light does this, and it's a standard, kind of like God, unchanging. Second, time has no meaning to light, or light touches everything at the same time, like God. Third, light exhibits a dual behavior, particle or wave, and Jesus and God and the 3 is one. There's all kinds of these dualities in the Bible that were really disturbing to me till the physics was disturbing. Fourth, light behaves differently depending on how we choose to observe it. Somehow, light seems aware, not unlike God is aware. And then lastly, light seems to be able to predict how we will choose to observe it. Light somehow is able to dance with the future, and that's so much like God. So, interesting coincidences about light and God? What do you think? Do you trust the science? Dive in. You're going to find this is the science. This isn't weird stuff. That this is the truth that we're learning in laboratories. Can it really be real? Does the fact that this dovetails with the Bible so well, written 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, does that help you believe in those writings? It sure does with me. In our next episode, we'll explore more bizarre things that pertain to our physical reality of our universe, and I'm really eager to share those with you. Many blessings till then. Thanks for listening and watching our podcast on faith and physics. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, please subscribe and maybe share some comments so others can hear your thoughts. Also, would really encourage you to share it with some other people. And in particular, what's on my heart is people in their 20s right now trying to figure out what's true in this world with all the craziness that's out there. I'd love for them to start to engage this information. If you have questions or if you have any comments you'd like me in particular to see, please email me, rodger@rodger-price.com. And thanks, Mom. There's a D in my name, Rodger. Thanks so much.